I'm announcing a pardon for all prior federal offenses for the simple possession of marijuana.
The answer to why I wrote White Lives Matter on a shirt is because they do.
President Biden said the risk of nuclear Armageddon is the highest it has been in roughly 60 years.
It's going to be a normal Friday show, kind of laid back, getting you ready for the weekend. But Joe Biden then pardoned a bunch of potheads. Kanye West went on Tucker. And also we might be headed down the road to nuclear war. So welcome to Friday. All that and more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. My name is Jobob. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go.
That might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually their name, Jobob.
Live from the dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in on today. It is October 7th, the year of our Lord 2022. It's Friday, and usually on Friday we talk about sillier things. I was gonna bring up the whole Golf Digest thing, ranking the presidents by their handicap. We're not going to do that today. You know why? Because after we got off of the air yesterday, the world went crazy a little bit. Joe Biden made a big announcement that we'll talk about first. Then Kanye West went on Tucker, which I have thoughts. We have so many clips from Joe Biden's thing yesterday and Tucker's thing yesterday. And also Putin and the whole nuclear war thing. Is that going to be a thing? Does any of this matter? Because we're going to see mushroom clouds popping up all over Europe and potentially blowing up the planet. Who knows? But to get things started off right away here, we want to talk about this. Yesterday, Joe Biden, like I said, pardoned a bunch of potheads. Now, I'm not trying to be snarky here. I just thought alliteration is cool. Pardoning potheads. I don't know. I thought it was funny. Anyways, yesterday, Joe Biden made an announcement that he was going to use an executive order to issue one of the largest mass pardons in U.S. history, roughly 6,500 people convicted in federal court of simple marijuana possession, as well as thousands more charged locally in D.C. Now, I'm curious about the thoughts going on here. I'm going to play this clip from Joe Biden, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section on what this actually does. There is a wrinkle here, and people, especially on the lefty side of the media, have been running off into a direction that doesn't exist, doesn't make any sense. People have varying degrees on marijuana usage and its legality. That's fine. But we also have to get our facts straight here when we're talking about pardoning people. There's going to be a lot of conversation that is wrong factually, just from what's happening. And I'll give you that little wrinkle because it wasn't in any of the articles that I read on CNN or MSNBC. So we'll let you know that. But first, watch this clip of Joe Biden making his announcements, and then I have some thoughts, and we'll talk about it. It'll be interesting in the comment section to see what you guys think about this. Again, Joe Biden pardoning federal criminal charges for smoking weed. Check it out.
As I said when I ran for president, no one should be in jail just for using or possessing marijuana. It's already legal in many states, and criminal records for marijuana possession have led to needless barriers to employment, to housing, to educational opportunities.
Okay, so that's basically it. That was his announcement. We're going to play a little bit more of that clip after because he goes on and starts talking about, the equity factor. And okay, we're talking about race here. That doesn't make any sense. There's a component of this that's fascinating from the standpoint of, should weed be legal? Should marijuana be legal? Personally, and you don't have to agree with this, that's totally fine. I think it's pretty nuts that alcohol is legal and weed is not. It doesn't, again, regardless of what you think you should or should not do from a legal perspective, they seem like pretty comparable things in terms of the quote-unquote destruction to society or the benefit to society, whatever you want to call it. So, that's just a simple thought off the top of my head, and you don't have to agree with it, but that is kind of an interesting thing. I don't necessarily, and I don't say this often, I don't necessarily disagree with the president, and especially with what he says next, because that's kind of the avenue that I'm going down in terms of legality and cause. Now, I'm not, if if you know me by any stretch of the imagination, I'm not advocating that people should use any sort of drugs, let alone weed. But at the same time, from a legal standpoint, it doesn't really make sense a lot. And there is a decent point to be made that people that are charged with possession, can't rent houses or apartments or get car loans or get jobs because they have that on a criminal record. Again, you're more than welcome to have your own thoughts. I will read in the comment section to see if any people are against that entirely. But like I said, there is a big stinking wrinkle, and I'm going to tease that before I play this next clip, because the next clip is talking about something that I think I wholeheartedly agree with. You don't have to agree, but I think it happens to be pretty good from the president. If you haven't already, would appreciate you clicking the little like button, the little share button over here, or giving interaction with the comment in the comment section. The comment section is going off. But we'll read some of these. Oh wow, yeah, we'll read quite a bit of these probably. Let me play this clip and I'll read through some of these comments and we'll get back to it. Check this out. This is, again, I actually think this makes a lot of sense from the president.
The federal government currently classifies marijuana as a Schedule I substance, the same as heroin and LSD, and more serious than fentanyl. It makes no sense. So I'm asking the Secretary of Health and Human Services and the Attorney General to initiate a process to review how marijuana is scheduled under federal law. Even as federal and local regulations of marijuana change, important limitations on trafficking, marketing, and underage sales should stay in place. Too many lives have been upended because of our failed approach to marijuana. It's time that we right these wrongs.
Again, kind of interesting. It is fascinating from a legal perspective if you look comparatively at the, what's legal and what's not. It doesn't really make sense that weed is a Schedule I drug on the same level as cocaine, meth, LSD, all of these other way, way worse, probably, for society drugs. Again, this is not an endorsement of using any sort of drugs. Again, if you know me, that's, well, it is what it is. I'm not endorsing anybody doing these things, but from a legal standpoint, it seems to kind of make sense that they would take a look at it being a Schedule I drug. Some of the comments were pretty interesting coming here. Jan says, I agree. Thanks, Jan. Appreciate it. Chris says, a plant is not a drug. And yeah, people have varying degrees of agreement with that. Paul, interestingly enough, says alcohol is way worse. If you've never done both, you wouldn't know that. I'm not going to get into my whole thing, but objectively speaking, I don't disagree with you, Paul. I think, 65 to 70,000 people in the United States die a year from alcohol-related diseases or accidents. It's one of the, I think, the third biggest killer in the United States that is, quote-unquote, preventable. It's a huge problem. And so what I'm saying here is not advocating for removing any legalities or anything like that, but saying, hey, look, if alcohol is legal, how in the world is weed not? That's just my thoughts. We'll see. Terry says, in perfect time for the midterm, all he's doing is vying for votes. That seems to be probably the case too. Oh, this is interesting. I think there's a typo here, so I'm not going to bring this on because the typo made it a profane word. But basically, he said, if we shut down the border, none of these drugs get to come into the country. Yeah, so I tweeted yesterday, and it's funny. So I know you guys don't want to hear about my Twitter escapades probably, but it's funny to see what tweets go off and what don't. I simply tweeted yesterday, very sarcastically and snarkily, by the way, which doesn't come across as well in text, but, I do it anyway. I just said, I wonder if securing the border would help with the fentanyl crisis. Yeah. Seems like it would be something that would help. I'm going to play this next clip, and I'm going to try and read more comments to see if I can bring any more on here. But why? Oh! Let me get you the wrinkle. Hold on. Yeah, the wrinkle that I promised that I thought was fascinating. So if you watch MSNBC, CNN, any of the big news network channels, and especially all of your hardcore lefty podcasts, people are saying, yes, Joe Biden is finally pardoning people who are in jail for possession of marijuana, they are finally going to be free. That's not true. It's not true a lot. This is from the New York Post that I thought was interesting. We talked about the Schedule 1 drugs, yada, 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 yada. However, the sweeping action stops short of freeing everyone from prison for pot crimes because it will only apply to simple possession, whereas most people in federal prison are accused of distributing the drugs. So this is for possession. What he's doing is pardoning people who were in possession of weed, not for distribution. Those people still have an issue. Not going to get into the politics behind that or anything like that, but the bottom line here is the people saying, well, now people in federal prison are going to be free because of this pardon. That's wrong. It's just not true. Because of this, all 6,500 people expected to be pardoned federally are not currently in prison, an official said. There is no, and this is a quote, direct quote, there is no individual currently in federal prison solely for the simple possession of marijuana. So, bottom line here is you see all of these, up with Biden media networks, which is hard to believe that those exist, saying, finally, people are going to be out of jail. That's simply not accurate. It's just not true. There are currently no people in jail solely for simple possession of marijuana, which is what Joe Biden is pardoning. Anyways, I want to play this video and I want to get to more of these comments because holy cow, these are going nuts. Geez, there's so many that I feel like I want to read and get into. So, okay, I'm going to play this clip and watch this. This is a clip of old Joe Biden talking about his ideas of the legalization of marijuana. Now, we'll discuss it a little bit afterward, but watch this clip from Joe Biden while he was in the Senate, because he was a senator for 50 years. Anyways, check it out.
Rather than argue, because we have two addictive substances that everyone acknowledges does harm on balance to society and individuals, maybe we shouldn't add another to the category. Why do people keep taking drugs, those who do? In most all cases, it's because they have a relatively low self-esteem, and their self-image is not very much intact.
Yeah, so Joe Biden advocated very much not. Somebody had brought up in the comment section, that was not very long to read comments here, but Kimberly said, wasn't he the one who was behind the 1994 crime bill? Yes, it was. Yes, he was. And that was him as a senator saying, well, no, we already have two drugs that people are incredibly addicted to. Now, I think I cut out the part where he mentioned what those two drugs were. He was talking about tobacco and alcohol. He was like, look, we have a problem with both of these things. He himself said that these two things are a detriment to society. Why would we add a third one in there? Now, a lot of people, especially in politics, like to say, he's a flip-flopper, just playing to votes. Or he changed his mind, which is a totally defensible response. Politicians change their mind, especially over the course of 40 freaking years, because that's how long he's been in government, if not more than that. So let's see. I did want to bring a couple of these on. This is kind of funny. Sam says he's just trying to get his son out of jail. I don't think Hunter Biden is in jail for simple possession of marijuana. I don't think he's in jail at all, but still a funny comment. Jody also echoed, your crime bill, ? Yeah. So kind of interesting. Let me see more of these comments. So, wow. Yeah. I wish I could get to more of these more easily without stalling for time here. But anyways, interesting. I'd love to hear more thoughts in the comment section. Joe Biden pardoning a bunch of marijuana users who really the only thing that's going to happen is they're going to get that expunged from their record. I think that's the case. Nobody's actually getting released from jail because nobody is in jail for the thing that he's pardoning. So there's that. On to this. This is kind of funny. Paulina says, the most consistent thing about Joe Biden is that he's completely and utterly inconsistent. Is his complete and utter inconsistency. That's kind of funny. On to this. So this happened also yesterday. Like I mentioned, Friday, we generally, I don't want to say take it easy, but have a lighter fare of conversation. We talk about the Golf Digest presidential golf handicap rating. We're not doing that today because Kanye went on Tucker. I got a lot of clips to play from here. I don't know how many we're actually going to play. But Kanye went on Tucker last night, and geez, I feel like I'm disagreeing. Not disagreeing, but I'm a little bit more ambivalent than a lot of people. A lot of people on my side of the aisle probably yesterday during Joe Biden's pardoning of the Potheads were like, can't believe he's doing that. I'm like, I don't really care. And taking a look at marijuana as a Schedule I drug seems like a reasonable thing to do. So there's that. And also people on my side of the aisle, which, you know, people are entitled to their own opinions, were really, really into Kanye on Tucker. I thought it was really, really weird. There are things that Kanye said that I 100% agree with, and things that Kanye said that I thought were bizarre and weird. And it seems like there's this kind of concept of, well, Kanye West likes Donald Trump, therefore I love everything Kanye West says, where I'm kind of like, yeah, some things he said that I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. But there are other things like, what in the world is this guy talking about? Also, Kanye's got some trouble. He's you know, I don't know. Anyways, let me play a couple clips from Tucker, and we'll kind of discuss and talk about it. Continuing on, check this out.
When did you start to feel this way? When did you start to realize this?
I really felt like, I think I started to really feel this need to express myself on another level when Trump was running for office and I liked him.
Yes.
And every single person in Hollywood, from my ex-wife to my mother-in-law to my manager at that time to, you know, my so-called friends / handlers around me, told me, like, if I said that I like Trump, that my career would be over, that my life would be over. They said stuff like people get killed for wearing a hat like that. They threatened my life. They basically said that I would be killed for wearing the hat. I had someone call me last night and said anybody wearing a White Lives Matter shirt is going to be greenlit, and that means that they're going to beat them up if they wear it. And I'm like, you know, okay, green light me then.
Yeah, so Kanye is saying that was very coherent and very well put together. That's not part of the stuff that I had a problem with. And I don't even know if we're going to play stuff that I not necessarily even had a problem with. It was just like, this is bizarre. Like, his mind goes in so many different directions all at once, and trying to narrow it down to a cohesive thought seems to be ridiculously hard. But let's see. That's Kanye basically talking about, you know, why he didn't, not why he didn't, but all of the people that pushed him against supporting Donald Trump when he was running. Now, it is interesting, though. He said from his wife or ex-wife, Kim Kardashian, his mother-in-law, his manager. Now, all of those people, interestingly enough, I think have financial interests, which I don't necessarily know that they actually dislike the policies that Donald Trump was pushing. Remember, Kim went and met with Donald Trump in the Oval Office talking about overturning some convictions. I forget what it was specifically, why Kim Kardashian went there. But remember, they have a lot of money, and their money is based in societal gain or in fame, so to speak. And if the entire media and the entire entertainment world is against one thing, financially, monetarily, it makes sense to be against that thing, even if you maybe somewhat agree with some of the policies. I would imagine that, well, Kim Kardashian, who remember, grew up with, I don't know how I'm supposed to phrase this. Kim Kardashian grew up in a lot of ways with Bruce Jenner as a stepfather. Now Caitlyn Jenner. Bruce Jenner then and Caitlyn Jenner now, very, very conservative. Remember? And then Bruce was also married to Kim's mom, Kanye's mother-in-law, who said, hey, keep your mouth shut on Trump. I would think it's more of a financial thing and a monetary thing about making money because, again, married to Bruce Jenner at the time, hardcore conservative. I would imagine that the money that they have leads them to think that, hey, I don't want to pay this much in taxes. It seems like the only reason they weren't outspoken about it and were telling Kanye to shut up about it is because they realized they were going to lose money. Not necessarily because I think they thought the policies were bad, which is an interesting dynamic to have in one's household. So that's what he was talking about there. We got another clip for you right here. We'll play this, and then we'll talk about the big clip that's making all the news. Check it out.
It was wild that I didn't know how close my own wife was to the Clintons. I didn't know, I didn't realize it at the time.
That you were married to her?
And I was married to her.
How close was she to the Clintons?
I mean, cell phone away, or hey, tell Ye to say this away, or hey, go out and use your platform to push the vaccination.
So, I get, okay, here's the thing. A lot of people are like, yeah, Kim Kardashian, they're very close to the Clintons. Kim Kardashian could reach out to the Clintons and vice versa. Oh my gosh, that's, in Kim's defense, she's the most famous woman on the face of the earth. Pretty much anyone on the planet is a phone call away if she wants them to be. I don't know Kim Kardashian. I've never met her. I've never had any interaction with her. But if she calls me, I'm picking up the phone. That just seems to be the case. Now, whether or not the Clintons were telling her what to tell Kanye to say and all that sort of stuff, I don't know. Maybe that was happening. Who knows? But a lot of people are treating that as like look, peek behind the curtain a little bit. I've had a lot of interesting interactions with some bigger name people, especially in this last year of me doing this sort of show and all that sort of stuff. And I think a lot of people on the outside, and I don't want to say this like people are outsiders, but on the outside of this public-facing world, people think internally, everybody knows each other and gets along great. My experience has not been that. People are tangentially somewhat relatable in context of the show that they're doing or the podcast they're doing or the panel that they're on. But in reality, I would imagine that, quote unquote, the relationship that Kim Kardashian had with the Clintons was not as tight as a lot of people who watched this might think it was. I hope I'm explaining that well. This is the clip that a lot of people are talking about. This is very, very quick. It's like 10 seconds, and we'll play this talking about the most recent controversy that Kanye West had. Here we go.
So the answer to why I wrote White Lives Matter on a shirt is because they do. It's the obvious thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, a couple days ago, Candace Owens, who I'm hoping to get on the show here in a little bit. She's got a brand new documentary coming out next Wednesday. I got invited to the premiere, which is cool, but not able to go. Anyways, Candace and Kanye wore T-shirts that say "White Lives Matter," thumbing the eye of a lot of your BLM people. I thought it was hilarious, and also recognized it for what it was. It's a publicity thing, and they're just doing that because they knew it was going to draw a rise. I was more looking at the other side to see if they'd take the bait, and they did. It became a huge controversy, and now everybody, I don't know, they're public enemy number one again, which, in a lot of ways is a great for publicity. So there's that. All right. So I do want to end up playing this. I wasn't sure if I was going to, but this is where Kanye gets, I don't know. This is a longer-ish clip. So, for what it's worth, it is kind of long and a little bit dry. But this is where I was thinking, look, a lot of people that I knew watching this interview were like, hey, this whole thing is incredible. And I'm like, yeah, there are some things that I 100% agree with. Yes, policy-wise, yes, you shouldn't be silenced. all of that sort of stuff. Great. I think this clip makes it pretty evidently clear that Kanye is not categorized into one box, which is the quote-unquote conservative box. And I don't think a lot of people are. People have conservative ideas. People have more liberal ideas or libertarian ideas, whatever you want to call it. But I feel like this clip probably reiterates the fact that Kanye is not in one box. He is a lot of places. And to hold him in the regard of, yes, this guy's always right all the time, seems to be a mistake and problematic. Anyways, watch this clip. I'm curious to see if you agree when listening to him talk. Check it out.
Why do you think they would want to promote unhealthiness among the population?
It's a genocide of the black race. They want to kill us in any way they can. Planned Parenthood was made by Margaret Sanger, a known eugenics with the KKK, and I believe that if we saw ourselves as a people and not a race, then we would treat our people better. Like if you go to a Jewish person and you say a race, it almost gets confusing. They'll cut you off quickly and say, we're not a race, we're a people. Well, our people are supposed to just say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. Okay, well, what about, do you own the land that you're living in? Do you own, is the contract even in a language that's even possibly understandable?
Right.
You know, for your heritage, you know, and in America, we as blacks will like down each other on how good we speak, but we're speaking English. There's nothing whiter than English. We're not in our native tongue, actually. So we judge each other on white goal lines, not based on exactly what our culture is based on.
Yeah, I don't really know what the point he was trying to make there or where he was getting to or anything like that. Again, somebody in the comments, hold on, maybe I saved it. I'm not entirely sure. Somebody said, oh, here we go. Bob said, maybe you're not sharp enough to understand Kanye. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm not ethereal enough of a thinker to be able to comprehend someone like Kanye, who I actually do think probably has a pretty dang high IQ, but sometimes struggles communicating some of the quote-unquote genius that he has. So, yeah, I don't know. Some of the interview was a little out there, and I think the main point I'm trying to make is categorizing Kanye into a box and putting him there and saying that he is now on our team. Saying, I think a lot of the things he said is right, and also, whoa, some of that stuff goes off the rails really quick. All right, before we get out of here, I gotta also possible nuclear war. So yesterday. You know what? I'm going to play this clip. We're just going to get right into it. Play it. All right, here we go. Check it out. Watch this. Also, by the way, if you haven't already, I see there's a couple thousand of you watching it. I get this little like counter thing on here. There's about 10 times more people watching this than have clicked the little like button and the little share button. So I really appreciate you doing that, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Getter. Hello, Getter. End of week 3 streaming on Getter? It's been a blast. But yeah, click the little like button or the reaction button or give us a comment. Would really appreciate you doing that. Helps us kind of keep the ball rolling here. Check this news clip out. Kind of interesting. Maybe nuclear war. We'll see.
Here in Moscow, it's increasingly clear that President Putin is in a corner. President Biden now worrying about what happens if the Russian leader doesn't find an off-ramp. This morning, a stark warning from President Biden about President Putin's repeated nuclear threats. Mr. Biden saying we have the direct threat of the use of a nuclear weapon if in fact things continue down the path they are going. The president making the comments off camera at a Democratic fundraiser, adding, we have not faced the prospect of Armageddon since Kennedy and the Cuban Missile Crisis. President Putin, who turns 70 today, has threatened to use any means at his disposal and says the US created a precedent by using nuclear weapons in Japan during World War II. President Biden saying he's not joking when he talks about the use of tactical nuclear weapons or biological or chemical weapons. The US has said there are no signs Russia is imminently preparing to use a low-grade nuclear weapon.
Does any of this matter if nukes start flying? Probably not. But Vladimir Putin is threatening outwardly to use tactical nukes in Ukraine, which would be bad. Ukraine officially applied for NATO. They are not a NATO country yet. I think that takes like months, if not years, for that process to go through. But Zelensky yesterday, there's a clip here, but it's not in English, whatever. I'll tell you what he said. Zelensky yesterday also said NATO countries should issue preemptive attacks on Russia in order to stem the possibility of Putin using a tactical nuke. Because here's the problem. Putin is in a big hole at the moment. That's just how it is. That's feelings aside. Putin is in a massive hole. And so the idea is, how does he get out of that hole? The reporter that was, what was that? ABC? What was that? The reporter there in Moscow said something pretty interesting at the very, very beginning. He said, Putin needs to find an off-ramp. Now, that means he wants to continue holding power, obviously, and I don't want him to hold power, but that seems like the most realistic outcome. Not outcome necessarily long-term, but the way to get him to stop doing what he's doing. If the United States gives him an off-ramp and says, all right, cool, you can keep this small part of Ukraine and Crimea, whatever, I don't know specifically what the specifics of the negotiations would be, but if the United States or the NATO countries or even Ukraine were able to provide an off-ramp for Putin to say, look, we did something and this was all worth it, even though it wasn't, then maybe he can get himself out of that corner. Or he can try and fight his way out of the corner, which could look very, very ugly if he decides to say, I'm losing so bad, I'm pulling literally the nuclear option. So there's that. Hate to bring you down on a Friday right before the weekend, but that's, just an interesting kind of component out there that, again, if nukes start flying, none of this domestic policy stuff matters at all. It's all hands on deck. We're going to war. So there's that. That's going to do it for us today, heading on into the weekend. Hope you have a good one. I wanted to bring some of these comments on here too because I thought it was kind of funny. Maybe I should look at these again. James, you seem to watch quite a bit. I appreciate you doing so. Thanks for being such a loyal fan. But says Joe Biden will be our president again in 2024. I can't tell if that's a joke or if you're serious. If it's a joke, it's hilarious. If you're serious, good luck with that, I guess. Richard was funny too. He said, careful, Kanye, you'll get Epstein. It's funny. It's a funny joke. Joanne, hey, appreciate you watching. Said I was rambling today. I feel like I was too. No disagreements here. Not a good show today. I don't know about that. I feel like a lot of the stuff was interesting to talk about, but I did feel rambly today. So appreciate the constructive criticism. Thanks. This was kind of interesting too. Roberta said, Kim is not really important in the real world, just a boob and a butt. Yeah, here's the thing. Kim Kardashian is also a pretty dang good businesswoman too. So, I don't know. Troy says, Ye has taken a stand as an individual against the corporate fiefdom. True. Cool. And Patrick said, Jobob, are you on Rumble? No, but I should be. Thanks for the suggestion. We were on Rumble for a little while, but I don't really know what happened. I think there's a streaming issue that we were looking to solve, and I got busy. So good question, Patrick. We will hopefully be on Rumble soon-ish. All right. Anyways, thanks for tuning in today, even though I rambled quite a bit, and I do admit to doing that. That was a little bit of rambly of today. But we'll see you next week on Monday, same time, same place. If you haven't already, give me a follow on any of your social media accounts. At JOBOB. You can find me Twitter, Instagram, Getter, YouTube, TikTok, all of the social medias. You can find me there. If you happen to live in Southern California and got nothing to do today, I'm in Norco, California tonight. Technically speaking, the show is sold out, but I still think we're trying to cram people in there. So if you happen to be in the area and want to come see me, attempt to make people laugh for an hour, feel free to do so. If not, I will be in Austin on Wednesday of next week, Newport Beach, California, Friday after that, a week from today. 26th will be in South Dakota, November 15th and 16th. I think we're in Kentucky somewhere. This is going to be like the Chiron. This is going to be like the social media Chiron, the Facebook one. You've all seen the Facebook one. This thing is wrong, and it's been wrong the entire time. In the same fashion, I'm going to keep saying I'm going to get a calendar out there, and I won't because I'll forget or get lazy or busy. So anyways, appreciate you tuning in. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday. God bless America.